Thank you for tuning in to another week's episode of Sports Talk with JWock. I am your host, Jonah Walkenfoos, and I have a big question for us today. Have we witnessed the greatest NBA trade deadline in NBA history? I'm going to be talking more about that right after this. Once again, thank you for tuning into podcast number 43 of Sports Talk with JWock. And I'm going to give my opinions on four major trades that happened in the NBA trade deadline and kind of my thoughts and opinions and some grades on each team that was involved in this deal. Unless it's like a 4 or 5 team trade, then I'm only going to give like the two major teams their grades. So first up, let's talk about probably one of the craziest trades ever in NBA history, and that is Luka Doncic getting traded to the Los Angeles Lakers in return for Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a 2029 first-round pick. This deal, I kid you not, I was in my bed, getting ready to go to bed, kind of relaxing. Shams Charania tweets, and I get it on my phone, and I see that Luka Doncic has been traded to the Lakers. My first initial thoughts were, there's no way this actually happened. Shams he got hacked. And then when I saw ESPN posting about it, the Lakers were posting about it, I literally ran downstairs. I was freaking out. I had no idea what to think. But I'm going to give my grades on this deal. This was actually a 3-team deal, so I'm going to kind of give the trade details on this, and then I will kind of give my grades and thoughts about it. So the Lakers receive Luka Doncic, Maxi Kleber, Markieff Morris. The Mavericks receive Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a 2029 first-round pick. And then the Jazz receive Jalen Hood-Schifino, who was later released. And then 2 second-round picks, one from the Clippers and one for the Mavericks. And both of them are for this year, for this upcoming draft, should I say. One thing I do want to mention before I kind of give my opinion is Luka's contract is very interesting. He does have a player option in the 2026-27 season of $48.9 million, so he could opt into that to be one more year and make $48.9 million, which I think he'll probably do. But then he'll be an unrestricted free agent in 2027 and 2028. So this could be interesting. Could Luka decide in the 27-28 season to leave? Very much so, and I could see it happening. But overall, right now, I think this is a good deal for the Los Angeles Lakers as they get a good young player who is going to be able to help them not just now, but also in the future. And they also gained Maxi Kleber and Markieff Morris, two very solid depth pieces. I really like this deal for the Lakers, and they didn't even have to call about Luka. It's crazy to me that the Mavericks GM, I believe his name is Nico Harrison, he called the Lakers about this deal, and only the Lakers, which is a little interesting. I think they did say Nico Harrison or whatever called one other team, but let's be real. He wanted to trade him to the Lakers, which makes zero sense. There was concerns about his weight and conditioning and stuff, but I don't even care. You don't trade your best player away, even though they got a decent haul for this, for Luka. But overall, if I were to give the Lakers a grade, this is an A+. They didn't have to call about Luka, and they got one of the faces of this league. So you can't deny that this was an amazing deal for the Lakers. And then the Mavericks, I also don't think this was a bad trade. I'm going to give their return, or the grade for this trade, a C for them. They're still going to be a championship contending team. And honestly, they could be dangerous. You got a starting lineup of Kyrie, Clay, PJ Washington, Anthony Davis, and Daniel Gafford. That's a very solid team. That's a solid starting lineup with a bench of Max Christie. I can't think. Spencer Dinwiddie, Derek Lively. That's a really good team right there, and that's a team that could be going for a championship here soon. But I'm gonna give them a C grade, not because of the return they got, but because they traded away Luka Doncic. Why are you doing that? The world will never know. And then the Jazz, the third team, this isn't very important, but I would give them probably just a B grade just because, they got 2 second-round picks. They later released Jalen Hood-Schifino, so they basically gave up nothing and they got 2 second-round picks. So honestly, actually, you could consider that an A+, because they basically just got 2 second-round picks for nothing. So shout out to the Jazz. I would say the winners of this trade is by far the Los Angeles Lakers, gaining Luka Doncic, a superstar, to go alongside LeBron James. But anyways, that's my thoughts and opinion on this trade. I could probably talk about this trade for like 25 minutes, but I want to limit this video and not make it that long of a video. So we're going to go up to the next trade, and then this was a deal actually the next day where there was a 3-team trade between the Spurs, Kings, and Bulls, where De'Aaron Fox goes to the Spurs along with Jordan McLaughlin, Zach LaVine, Sidi Sissoko, 3 first-round picks, and 3 second-round picks go to the Sacramento Kings. And then for the Bulls, they get Zach Collins, Trey Jones, Kevin Huerter, and then their own 2025 pick back from the Spurs. First, let's talk about the Kings. I think gaining Zach LaVine was kind of an interesting move. I mean, we already saw how Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan played out in Chicago, and it really didn't work out. They got Sidi Sissoko, he was later traded to the Wizards, so he's not even going to be on the team. They got 3 first-round picks, but I would only consider it basically 2 first-round picks and then 5 second-round picks, because that 2025 pick for Charlotte is top 14 protected, and there's no way Charlotte's going to be out of the lottery. So basically they got 2 first-round picks in this deal. Yeah, like I give this like a B- for the Kings. I think the Kings are still going to be somewhat competitive. They don't really have a distinct point guard. They can use Malik Monk, but let's be real, I don't know if that's going to work out too well for them. Yeah, and like this team already was kind of struggling, but I'm going to be honest with you, like it was an okay trade. That's why I'm going to give it a B-. As far as the Bulls go, they get Zach Collins, who was basically salary dump, along with Kevin Huerter, who was salary dump. And then they get Trey Jones, who's a solid young point guard, which I really like Trey Jones, but I don't see Billy Donovan, our amazing head coach, playing him. And now we have 6 guards on our team, so that's great. But I do really like how we got our own pick back. So I'm going to give this like an overall B for the Bulls. I wish they got more for Zach LaVine. You know, they're your best player, a player that's been playing on your team for 8 seasons. You know, it could have been better if you put him in a better situation as well. I wish he was on a different team other than the Kings. Like, doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, I'm going to give him an overall grade of a B. And then as far as the Spurs go, they get De'Aaron Fox and Jordan McLaughlin. I'm going to give this an A grade. I mean, you're getting an elite point guard to play alongside Wemby now, a up-and-coming superstar. And this is going to give the Spurs a chance to really try to compete in the playoffs. And I'm really excited to see what the Spurs can do here. So yeah, if you want to, and I would say the distinct winner of this trade is by far the Sacramento Kings. They're the main, they were the main team in this deal, and this was just an amazing deal for the Kings. So if you have a different opinion, let me know down below. And then we have 2 more deals. We're going to get through these ones a little quicker. So we got Jimmy Butler traded to the Golden State Warriors, where the Warriors received Jimmy Butler. The Heat received Andrew Wiggins, Kyle Anderson, PJ Tucker, who was later traded to the Toronto Raptors, and then a protected first-round pick. The Jazz get Dennis Schroeder, who was later traded to the Pistons, and then the Pistons received Lindy Waters and Josh Richardson, which I think Josh Richardson was moved, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm only going to grade the Warriors and Heat here because they're like the only 2 like important teams in this deal. As far as the Warriors go, I'm going to give this like a B-. I really don't think this is that great of a deal for the Warriors. Giving up some solid role players to get a star is great, but at the same time, now you don't really have great depth. I know you still have Kuminga and stuff. You still have Moses Moody. You still have Podziemski. I mean, like, they have a decent team, but I don't know if this really gets them to be a championship level team compared to like the Thunder, even the Lakers now, the Nuggets. I mean, there's a lot of teams that I still think are better than the Warriors. So I don't think this puts them over the edge at all. So like I said, I'd give it a B-. And I also don't like the extension they gave Jimmy Butler. I think they overpaid him quite a bit. And then as far as the Heat's package that they got, I would probably give this, I would give this like a B+. I think this was a good deal for the Heat. I think moving on from Jimmy Butler is not just going to help their roster, but it's also going to help their the locker room. It felt like Jimmy Butler was kind of separating the team, and it was just not good. It's about time they moved him. It feels like they've been trying to trade him for months now. So this is a good deal for the Heat, and I would give it a B+. And yeah, like I said, if you guys have a different opinion on this, let me know down below. I love hearing your guys' opinions. And then the final big trade that I want to talk about is a very interesting trade, a trade that I was not expecting to happen, where we saw Brandon Ingram traded to the Toronto Raptors. So basically the Raptors get Brandon Ingram, and then the Pelicans get Bruce Brown, Kelly Olynyk, a first-round pick, and a second-round pick. I think I'm more confused to why the Raptors did this deal. The Raptors were, I think, tied third for best odds to get the number 1 pick to potentially get Cooper Flagg. So adding Brandon Ingram is definitely not going to help that case. I mean, if they could still land the number 1 pick or a top 4 or 5 pick, this is going to look great for them. But I think Brandon Ingram, if he comes back to health, he's going to be able to help them win a couple games on his own. So a little confusing there for the Raptors. So I would probably give him a grade of like a C. Like, it really doesn't make sense to me, at least in my opinion. Maybe it makes sense to other people, but yeah. And then as far as the Pelicans go, Bruce Brown's probably going to get bought out and go to a championship level team. Kelly Olynyk's probably not going to be on the team very long. He is he is a Canadian, so I mean, it's kind of cool that he can. Oh wait, never mind. I was thinking the wrong way. No, Kelly Olynyk's going to New Orleans, so he's getting out of Canada. Never mind. But he is Canadian. But anyways, he is going to New Orleans. He's probably not going to be there for very long. And then they get a first-round pick and second-round pick. I really like this deal for the Pelicans just because Trey Murphy now is going to be kind of the face of this team. And if you don't know about Trey Murphy, look him up. He is a beast. He is an actual stud. And this kind of helps them go towards a little bit of a retooling. I wouldn't say a rebuild. I don't know if they need to go into a rebuild, but a little more of a retool, which I really like for the Pelicans. And it puts them under the luxury tax, which is really important for them. For a team that's kind of at the bottom, you don't want to be paying luxury tax for one of those teams. So as far as a grade for the Pelicans, I would probably give them, probably like a B+ grade. Yeah, and I would say the Pelicans won this trade by far. They moved on from a big contract, and they kind of and now they're going to be able to have a little more flexibility. But anyways, those are the 4 big trades that I would consider from this trade deadline. There were many other trades. There could have been a different trade I could have mentioned, like Chris Middleton getting traded to the Wizards and then Kuzma going to the Bucks. But I just wanted to mention these 4 teams, or these 4 trades, and what my thoughts and opinions were on them. So if you guys have different thoughts and opinions on them, let me know down below. And in the next segment, I'm going to be talking about the biggest winners and losers of this NBA trade deadline. So if you want to hear more about that, stay tuned. Okay, so we are on the final segment of this podcast where we're going to be talking about the biggest winners and biggest losers of the NBA trade deadline overall. I found 2 teams that I would consider the biggest winners, and then 2 teams I would consider the biggest losers of this trade deadline. Now, when I'm talking about biggest winners and biggest losers, I'm not meaning biggest winners just because they're going to be a championship level team or something like that. Like, from what they traded and who they traded away and what they gained back, I think that helps their team overall in whatever direction they're choosing to go. And then for the biggest losers as well, it's the same thing. It's like the trades they made, and what they lost maybe wasn't what they wanted back in return, or it just wasn't a good value deal back. And especially with the direction they're trying to go, it's just like maybe some of these teams just really messed up. So as far as biggest winners, I would say one of the biggest winners is definitely the Los Angeles Lakers. As far as the players they've gained from this trade deadline, they gained Luka Doncic, Mark Williams, Maxi Kleber, and Markieff Morris. And then the players they lost are Anthony Davis, Max Christie, Dalton Knecht, Cam Reddish, Jalen Hood-Schifino, a 2029 first-round pick, a 2031 first-round pick, and a 2030 pick swap. As far as like the Lakers, I think they built a new direction for the future while still having championship hopes. I mean, this is just a good move a good couple of moves for the Lakers. I like Mark Williams as well. He's been balling out this season. He was for the Hornets. Now he will probably be doing the same for the Lakers, a team that was honestly, after trading Anthony Davis, desperate for some interior help, and they got that in Mark Williams. I think he's going to fill in that role perfectly. And I think overall, like, this Lakers team is not going to be able to, just win now. I think they're going to be able to win in the future as well, adding Luka for the next couple of years and potentially foreseeable future. So yeah, I would definitely say the Lakers are one of the biggest, if not the biggest winner of this NBA trade deadline. And I was going to say they were like maybe not going to be as good if they didn't get a center, but getting Mark Williams definitely helps me to have that assurance that yes, they are winners of this trade deadline. Next up, the other winner I would say is definitely the San Antonio Spurs. They gained De'Aaron Fox, Jordan McLaughlin, and Patrick Baldwin Jr. They lost Sidi Sissoko, a 2025 first-round pick from the Hornets, a 2025 first-round pick from the Bulls, and a 2031 first-round pick from the Timberwolves. They also lost 3 second-round picks, one from 2025 and 2 from 2028, and a little bit of cash, but that's all right. This team is now going from we're kind of a rebuilding team to we are going to win now, and they didn't have to get rid of a single they also lost Trey Jones and Zach Collins. I forgot to mention that. But yeah, basically they're going from a team that's like we're going to rebuild, we're going to see like where Wemby can be, to now we want to make the playoffs, we want to compete right now. And they didn't have to get rid of a single solid young player in their like core. They also didn't have to get rid of really any of their good veterans like Harrison Barnes. So they kept Jeremy Sohan, Devin Vassell, Stephon Castle. They kept Chris Paul. Like, they just have the whole core, and they basically got rid of just bench players that they were hardly playing anyways. So this is a huge win for the San Antonio Spurs, probably the biggest winners. I mean, I said the Lakers earlier, but honestly, the Spurs might be the biggest winners of this NBA trade deadline. And basically, they traded away their 2031 first-round pick, which was from the Timberwolves, which they got in a deal for Rob, basically where the Timberwolves drafted Rob Dillingham in the draft at, I think, pick number 9. It was maybe it was 8. I don't remember. Anyways, they basically traded Rob Dillingham for De'Aaron Fox. In my opinion, that's a massive W for the Spurs. And I really like what the Spurs are building there in San Antonio now for the foreseeable future. So we did the winners, right? Like the teams that, yeah, they did great. Let's move on to the biggest losers, the teams that I think really messed up, like really did not have a good trade deadline. They maybe got their roster worse in a way, whatever direction they're moving towards, or they just missed out. And one of the teams that missed out big time was the Phoenix Suns, a team that was heavily pursuing Jimmy Butler. They were willing to get rid of even potentially Kevin Durant in a deal where Kevin Durant turned down the deal to go to Golden State. So, I mean, this was a crazy for Phoenix. It felt like they were trying to make every trade in the world. But let's just look who they gained. They gained Nick Richards, Cody Martin, Vasily Micic, 2 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks. And they lost Josh Okogie, Yusuf Nurkic, a 2026 first-round pick, and a 2031 first-round pick, which is unprotected. And then they gained 3 second-round picks. Or they lost 3 second-round picks, sorry. All I got to say is you lost if you traded away like one of your your last first-round pick, unprotected for 3 first-round picks, and you still can't get a star out of it. It felt like they were going to get Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler wanted to go to Phoenix, and then somehow it just doesn't work. And it's because Bradley Beal did not want to opt out of his no-trade clause. And, I think this is just a big loss for the Suns. This makes them worse, and they're already not that great of a team. They might not even make the play-in tournament. And they have Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal. This is just a mess of a team. This GM's just trading away their whole future to try to win now, and they still can't even accomplish that. So this is a big loss for the Suns, especially when they're trying to win now. And then the other biggest loser is probably one of the most unfortunate things for me as a Bulls fan is the Chicago Bulls are probably the other biggest losers. They gained Kevin Huerter. Zach Collins, Trey Jones, and then they gained the rights back to their own first-round pick from the Spurs. So that's nice. They have a little bit of flexibility from their picks and all. But they lost Zach LaVine, Torrey Craig, and Chris Duarte. Torrey Craig and Chris Duarte, like, I'm fine with them losing. Like, moving on from them. They had to release them because of the trade. They didn't have enough roster spots, so they had to release 2 players, and those were the 2 that got released. They lose Zach LaVine, one of my favorite players of all time. It was very unfortunate. It's a very sad day for me, and just not being able to see him play in a Bulls uniform anymore is going to be very disappointing for me. But you basically traded LaVine for salary dump and Kevin Huerter and Zach Collins, and they're not even expiring deals. And you added no draft capital. You got your own pick back, which you traded away in a DeMar DeRozan sign-and trade to the Spurs a couple years back in the offseason. And you didn't find a deal for Vucevic. They did extend Lonzo Ball to a 2-year, $20 million. That was a good deal. But honestly, other than that, like, I don't know what the Bulls are doing. Like, we are not setting ourselves up for the future. Unless Modest Buzelis turns into a superstar and we gain like another really good player in the draft that can pan out to be good, this Bulls team is going to be bad for years to come. And I mean like a potential like 10 years. I'm not even kidding. It's really disappointing to see this Bulls team. Sometimes it's hard for me to be a fan of this team. I'm not even going to lie. It just makes me sad to see the ownership and just the front office and our coaching just not playing or just not being serious about the franchise. It just feels like they don't really care. Being a Bulls fan hurts. So if you guys are fans of other teams, be appreciative of who you're a fan of, unless you're like a fan of the Hornets. Then that would suck too, I guess. But a lot of the people I know that watch these have some pretty solid teams and some good players on their team. So appreciate it while you have them, because I tell you what, I don't think you have it worse than what the Bulls have right now, to be honest with you. So, yeah, that's probably the biggest loser of this trade deadline, and I apologize for getting a little angry over that. But anyways, that's going to be the end of my podcast number 43 of Sports Talk with JWock. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to go down, like the video, subscribe, share this video with others, and I hope you all have an amazing week. God bless.